I'm Shonda Ramsey, your host and fellow indie author. Are you overwhelmed at the thought of publishing your book by yourself? Has fear kept you frozen in place, unable to write even the first word of your book? Not knowing the steps you need to take shouldn't stop you from writing. That's why I've asked for help from some amazing industry professionals, published authors, and others who are in the same situation as you to share their knowledge on the self-publishing process. Welcome to Dear Indie Author, where we inspire creative independence in every writer. Hi, everyone. I am here with my friend Lea. Lea, it is so good to have you here. I would like to get us started by doing some rapid fire icebreaker questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. City or countryside?
Countryside.
Favorite song?
Oh gosh. Um, you got me on that one. I was so ready. It is well
Oh, I love that
with
one.
my soul. Yeah.
Yeah. Winter or summer?
Summer.
Favorite dessert?
I love I'm more of like a salty. So when you said
Mhm.
favorite dessert, I thought of nachos.
Those
So
can definitely be a dessert. That sounds good to
yeah.
me. Art gallery or concert?
Art gallery.
One word to describe your writing style.
I would say I'm a deep writer, very vulnerable. Um, and I also try very hard to write in present tense, which I found actually is kind of different as I just wrote my first book. So I've been try to write in present tense. I've been writing since 2016. I like to draw the writer into where I am at the exact moment. So
Mhm. I like that.
yeah.
That's really neat.
Mm.
Are you a sweet or savory person? I think you may have already answered, but we'll ask
Savory.
anyway.
Yeah.
What is your favorite movie genre?
I like psychological thrillers.
Oh, that's good. I wasn't expecting that. Are you a hot or cold drink person?
I'm hot.
Hot.
Yeah. hmm
What is your dream travel destination?
I love going to like islands, Caribbeans, but
Mhm.
I also have a dream to go. My husband and I want to go to Alaska, where our
Mm,
25th anniversary is coming up in a couple years, so we've been talking about that. So
that would be
that
a
right
fun
now
trip.
it would be Alaska. Yeah.
That would be fun. What is your favorite place to write?
I love to write outside when
Hmm,
it's not sweltering hot. I live in Mississippi, but I love writing outside.
me too. What is one word that describes your book's impact?
One word. Um, I just said this to my husband. It's actually two words last night. I said it's opened a Pandora's box for people,
Mm,
and
that's
I could
good.
probably talk about that later. I know it's
Yeah.
two words, I guess.
Yeah, no, that works. That's really good. Well, thank you for answering all my icebreaker
Thank
questions. Would
you.
you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, I am Leah Turner. I have five children. My oldest is 20, 18, 15, 13, and then the baby is 7. The three oldest are our biological children, then we have the two youngest that are adopted. We are a biracial family. My husband and I have been married for 23 years. He's an OBGYN. We live in Mississippi. I grew up in New Jersey, so I say I'm a northern girl stuck in a southern world. I just wrote my first book. It's in pre-orders now till it'll be out next week, next Tuesday, a week from today.
Wow.
And I've been writing since 2016 on my blog. And I love meeting women, especially where they are in their pain and suffering and holding space for them.
I love that, and that is so needed for sure. Can you tell us a little bit more about your book, The Freedom to Feel: Finding God in the Midst of Grief and Trauma?
Yes. I wrote this book from a place of pain, and grief and trauma. My mom or my dad died in 2019. And then shortly after that, in April the following year, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And my dad's death was the very first thing I've ever experienced with grief. And he was sick really quickly. He had a brain tumor. And then my mom got sick. And then right after that, in July, we had a total house fire and we lost
Mm.
everything. And then my oldest son started dabbling with drugs and alcohol, which then turned into addiction. He was in and out of rehab. And walking through all of this within a 3-year period, it helped me see that our culture doesn't do real well with grief and trauma, and we don't really know what to do with it. And especially what I've learned, the term is ambiguous loss, those losses that don't have closure. We don't know what to do with those type of things. There's no grave site, there's no place to go. Like my son's addiction, there's not closure to it. And so I really felt like God was asking me to write a book on this and to make sure people don't feel alone in their pain and their grief and their trauma. Because if we don't deal with that stuff, we are separated from each other and God. It causes a division. And so yeah, that's what I've written on. So yeah.
Wow, it sounds like you have definitely put your heart out there, which is really hard to do, especially when we are talking writing about grief and trauma.
Mhm.
That is actually part of the topic of my book as well. So I can
Oh,
relate to your struggle with writing that too. It's really hard to be vulnerable and to share those more intimate things about ourselves in order to help others, but it is definitely an area that is needed to help other people. So I commend you
yeah.
on doing that. I know how hard it is
Thank
to do
you,
that. So it's very inspirational to see that you did that as well. What inspired you to write this book?
God. Got my relationship with the Lord. I've been wanting to write a book for a long time. I've felt the call to write a book for a long time. I've even put together book proposals over the years and submitted them. And like looking back, it just wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right book. And walking through all of that, like coming out on the other side of it, I was just knew that this was the time to write the book.
That's awesome. So you were being obedient in the calling, it sounds like.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's awesome. In your book, you mentioned viewing pain and suffering as an invitation to connect with God. Can you elaborate on this concept?
yes. We either, as Christians, we do either one or two things. We either draw closer to God in our pain and suffering, or we pull completely away from God because the questions and the unknowing and all of that can cause division with God. So I realized in my own pain and suffering that it wasn't that God was trying to separate himself from me. He was actually drawing me closer to him in my pain. And I was experiencing him in a new way and seeing his character in a new way in my pain. And not that I would ever want anyone to walk through something like horrible, but you do come out on the other side experiencing God in a new, fresh way. Um, so I've learned that our pain is really an invitation from God to experience Him in a different way.
I like that. That's beautiful. That's not something I've ever thought of either, so that's really neat. How did your personal journey of grief influence the writing of this book?
It's it's all the it is really the whole thing, is my experience with it. Um I don't as a we're getting better as a culture, but I don't think we often talk about these things, especially with my son's addiction. It was very difficult path to walk through, especially I live in the South, so um we live in the Bible Belt, so it's like it can be shameful to have a child that's struggling that way. So my whole story is my whole story is the book. So I felt like God was calling me to be vulnerable so other people could also experience God and be vulnerable with their community and with their people around them. So I was paving the way for that, hopefully.
Yeah. That's awesome because you're going to give strength to others to be able to then share theirs as well.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. What do you hope readers will take away from the freedom to feel?
Originally, I felt like I wanted readers to not feel alone in their pain and to know that God was there for them and that there was other people that have also experienced that. But I have found that my launch team is reading the book now, and I have actually found that there are lots of women, especially, have deep grief and trauma that they haven't dealt with in their whole lives, which
Mm-hmm.
I've been overwhelmed with hearing their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I told my husband last night, I feel like I'm opening Pandora's box. I mean, there's a woman that's shared with me that she's in her 60s, she had something happen in her childhood. And as she was reading my book, she realized that she never grieved it. And because she never grieved that, she wasn't able to grieve other things in her life, and that it was helping her to experience that pain and sorrow, but then also to experience God in a new way.
Wow.
So I don't know, you write in a hole in a cave and you don't know how God's going to use it. So it's already been really neat to see how women have responded to it and what God is using it. So
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. What makes your book different from other books on grief and suffering?
Um, I would say it deals with those, what I said earlier, what it deals with those unexpected losses
Hmm.
rather than I mean, I haven't lost, a child, or I didn't lose a family member in the fire or anything like that. It was our home that we lost, and it was 20 years of our life, and it wasn't just things.
Yeah.
um it was more than that. And then my son, walking through all of that with my son, it was loss of a dreams for him. It was loss of what I thought our family would look like. My reality uh was coinciding with like my expectations of what things should look like. And I think we're getting better at it, but we don't talk about those things like the divorces that happen
Mhm.
and the job loss and the traumas that we experience that rearrange our whole lives. So that was what I would say is different from my book than a grief book on like a death of someone.
Yeah. You're talking about a lot more, which is things that people usually tend to hide more and don't
Mhm.
feel comfortable, talking about. So I believe that your book's going to help open those doors and help people to really start to heal a little more, I think,
Yeah.
after reading it. What were some challenges that you faced while writing this book?
Um, I think of two things. Um, I had when I first started writing, I built an outline for the book. So each day I would know what I was going to write on. I have school age children, so I needed to know what I was going to write on that day. But I didn't really expect that I had to grieve that day too.
Mm,
So that was hard sometimes, just like experiencing those emotions all over again. And like writer's block is real.
hmm.
And like some days you need to write, but the time is ticking and you have nothing to say. I also didn't know that editing was going to be so hard.
Yeah.
Like I never edited such a huge thing before. I mean, I've
Yeah.
written, blog posts and all that. So the editing was really hard and it takes a lot longer than you expect to edit things. Um, yeah. And I also had to send chapters to my oldest son to make sure like he was okay with what I was sharing too.
Mm.
Um,
That's
yeah.
beautiful that you did that though to make sure that he was comfortable with the parts that included him
Yeah.
as well. That makes him part of the book, that's beautiful too. That's like a collaboration with him
Yeah.
on your book, which is great. How did you delicately write about such personal and difficult experiences without harming your loved ones?
It was talking to them. Before I started the book, I talked to my oldest son about it. I sent him, pieces of it. I also have been very careful, like this is my part of the story.
Hmm.
So there's not a lot of details. Like I'll say there was a lot of arguing, but I don't give any of the details of what the arguing looked like. People don't know what type of drugs he's taken or um it is really just from my point of view. Um, and he was okay with it. It would have been a different story if he was totally against me writing the book.
Hmm.
And it's mostly him. I mean, my oldest daughter struggled with anxiety after the fire, and I talk about that a little bit. But her story is very limited. It's funny when the book came out, I have five children, and my youngest daughter was crying because
Oh,
she's 7. She was crying that there was no chapter about her.
oh.
And my oldest son was like, "You don't want any chapters about you."
Isn't it funny how kids
So
are?
yeah, because my other son that's adopted, he has a heart condition. So during that whole time, he had to have heart surgery, and we ended up
Wow.
being in the hospital for a whole month. So he has a whole chapter about him too. So like she didn't have one. I told her it's okay, maybe next time.
Oh, bless her heart. That's
I
fun though.
know.
That's pretty neat. What advice do you have for authors who are struggling to write their difficult stories?
I would say get the first draft out. Sit down and vomit whatever you need to, write it
Mhm.
out, and then go back and edit it, take out the details. I mean, I even changed a few, like, things in it so it doesn't line up exactly the way it happened or but I also would encourage writers to do it, to
Mhm.
write your hard stories because we need them. um, we need to know that other people have walked through hard things and gotten out on the other side of it, and God has seen you through. So I think everyone can find a way to write their hard story, even if you change the name or the
Yeah.
relationship with the person. Um, I know like this just came to mind, but I know like Beth Moore wrote her book just recently last year. I don't know if you've read it, but
Mhm.
um she had to wait till someone died to write it. So
Wow.
sometimes even just waiting out your story.
Yeah, until the time is right.
Yeah, but you still get it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always good. You can start now, but hold on to it until the timing is right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. You mentioned that your message can help other aspiring authors. How do you think your journey can inspire them?
That um even though you're a first time author and you don't have a large platform, you can still write a book and it be impactful. I have been surprised. I've been fostering a small platform for over a long time, since 2016, and I have been very surprised at how women have come to support me in this time.
Mhm.
And I have a launch manager, and she was like, she said she's had 32 authors that she has launched. And she said, this is one of the best launches I've ever had because you have relationship literally with every single person on the launch team. And so you just foster the one to grow your platform and not worry about how big or small it is.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that
Yeah.
answered your question. I
Yeah,
kind
it
of went
does.
on
Yeah, no, that's good.
because we're so worried as authors about our platforms,
Mm-hmm.
so worried about it.
Yeah, because the traditional publishing, right? So that's one of their requirements is you have to have a
Hmm.
large following. And so a lot of people get kind of stuck that, if they're not going to get accepted traditionally because they don't have a big following, then they kind of give up because they don't realize that you can still keep going. You can
Yeah,
self-publish, you can hybrid publish. There's other ways that you can do it. And so that's a very important message to get out. So that was
yeah.
really good. Let's see. What do you believe is the importance of stripping off the shame and stepping towards the light in the writing process?
What do I believe the importance is?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, the importance of stripping off the shame and stepping towards the light.
I believe it's super important because the only way for us to share our hard stories is to strip away that shame. You
Mm,
can't share your hard, difficult stories unless you've processed it and healed from it. And people know if
yeah.
you've healed from it. They can tell. So you have to do that hard work of stripping off the shame of it. And it may, for me, it was talking to other people about it before I wrote about it,
Hmm.
to make sure that I wasn't still in that place of hurt and like unforgiveness. There was a lot of forgiveness I had to do towards my son. And I can't write about that or talk about that if I still have unforgiveness towards him or any of us can't. So I
Right.
would say do that hard work and it may take longer than you expect.
Mm. For me, it took 8 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it does
Yeah.
take that part does take time because
Yeah.
forgiveness is so hard sometimes. And so it is important to do that before you then can step in and share your story from a place that you can help others through their process as well.
Yeah.
How can writing about difficult journeys bring hope to others?
It helps people know that somebody else has been through it. Like when I was walking through all of my stuff, I was looking for books to read to know that somebody else got through it, somebody else
Hmm.
survived it. This is what they did. And it's not necessarily even just like a how to, it's just reading somebody else's story and knowing that they were able to walk through it and God saw them through to the other side.
Mm,
Um, so I think that's what, yeah, I think that's what we all really need and desire is just to feel like we're not alone.
yeah. Like we're part of a small community that
Hmm.
understands
Yeah.
and can empathize with us on that. How has your faith played a role in your writing and your healing journey?
It's the number one thing. It is forefront, my faith in God. I wouldn't be where I am today without that. I wouldn't be able to forgive my son or to walk, even to get to this place of not being resentful or angry,
Mm,
just to have the peace of God. It's everything. In every chapter in my book, I have a story of Jesus in the gospel of how he dealt with pain and suffering. Um, so it's everything to me.
mm. I love that. That's really neat to see that. Are there any upcoming projects or initiatives you're excited about sharing?
Well, my book comes out next week. I am going to take some time off. I just got certified as a grief coach, so I am excited I have two clients that I'm going to start working with after the launch. So I'm very excited about that. But I do have some thoughts on a second book. And I also do have a desire to support other writers in writing hard stories. I don't know what that looks like, but this is just things that rattle. As creatives, we always have these things like rattling around in our minds. So yeah.
I believe part of being obedient and writing your story will often lead you to the path that you're meant to go down. Definitely.
Yeah.
God has a way of doing that for us. He
That's
just
right.
kind of opens up the next door because it's like, okay, I finished this project. Now what?
You want to like lay on the bed for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And just soak it up for just a minute.
Yeah.
Just rest, no
I
deadlines,
know.
no timelines. Just give
I
me
know. But
a good
we'd
month.
rest for like a few days and then we would be back at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
Oh, I don't think so. I think we've covered a lot. I can't think of anything.
Okay.
We've
Can
covered a
you
lot.
please share with everyone where they can find you?
Yes, I am at leaturner.com, and Lea is Lea Turner.com. And then I'm at Instagram at Lea J Turner. And then I'm on Facebook. And my book will be out by the time this airs, it'll be out, and it'll be out on Amazon. So, and
Perfect.
wherever books are sold.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to share the letter you wrote to our audience as we close up today's interview.
Okay. Dear Andy author, I know it can feel as if your words aren't being heard and they're not helping others, but they are. Your job is to be obedient to God's leading. You have a value to add to the world. But what I wish someone had told me was being an author is hard work. We must obey the command of the work, knowing it takes long hours to write, and sometimes you have to start over, but keep going. Rejection is part of the work. You will be rejected, and this is why it is so very important to have a community of authors and writers around you for support. Over the last 2 years of writing and marketing my first book, I have had some incredible women come alongside me. When I'm feeling down, I text them, and I also receive some kind of encouragement. Community is important in this journey. Don't do it alone. And one last thing, build your audience one reader at a time. Invest in them as you would want to be invested in. Don't write to the masses, write to the one.
Hey writers, have you tried to start writing only to get frustrated and give up before you get anywhere? Are you ready to take your novel from idea to completion? Join us for November to New Year, Novel Writing with Authentically Created, a 3-month writing workshop. Starting October 1st, we'll guide you through plotting and planning your novel before we get started with writing. Plus, it's free to participate. Sign up now to join other writers in this exclusive community. Visit authenticallycreated.com for more details. Plot, write, and finish your rough draft by New Year's. Let's make this the year you finally write that book. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Shonda Ramsey. For the show notes and links, head over to shondaramsey.com and don't forget to join in on the conversations on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a show and write a review where you listen to podcasts. Until next time, always remember, every writer deserves to see their words in print.